Welcome to your Monday Morning Pearl. I'm Steve Keck. We've been talking in the last few weeks about culture's impact on sales. And we discussed two types of cultures, hot culture and cold culture, and how they're different. So this week we want to talk a little bit more about what it looks like when you're dealing from one side to the other and how that can impact your sales cycle. We talked about a hot culture and how it tends to avoid conflict, whereas in a cold culture, they like to get right into the middle of it. Most of this is all done on verbal communication styles. So what can you do to recognize the cultural dynamic that's at play when you're talking to your prospects? First, you want to do a basic needs analysis. And we're not talking about needs analysis of the business and how your solution might be involved in helping that business. What you're actually doing is a needs analysis on the way they want to communicate. How committed are they to setting new appointments? How are they responding to your questions when you're asking some basic questions about how their solution works or what their problems are? Are they getting to the point? Are they trying to be a little bit loose around the specifics? That kind of thing will lead you to help you understand that, okay, I might be dealing with a hot culture or a warm culture. I mean, and generally, if you know where they're from, then that also, if you're calling to someone in Atlanta, you have a high likelihood you're going to be talking to a whole hot culture person, and you want to act accordingly, as opposed to someone from New York who's probably much more cold culture, and you can go ahead and start from there to see where you go. While this is not a hard and fast rule, you're making assumptions as you go all the time, trying to figure out whether this client is even right for you. So you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of how to honor the culture and honor the communication style that they need. Secondly, once you've sort of gotten a sense of that, think about the way you are communicating with that person. I'll give you an example. Early on, when I was learning about this, I worked with someone from the Caribbean, definitely a hot culture individual. Sense of time wasn't always the same. We didn't have the same kind of dynamics in the way we approach clients. But I took it to heart to learn from this individual. He opened an account for a client who was from another part of the world, but definitely a hot culture. That client promised to do something in 2 weeks. 2 weeks run by, nothing happens. I have a conversation with my coworker and say, is this one of those things where we have to go and just sit and talk with them for about an hour? And he said, yes. So we showed up unannounced. He's the CEO of a business, and we show up unannounced. We end up sitting there for 45 minutes, just talking about his business and life and just connecting with him. And in the last 2 minutes, he said, I'll bring the money tomorrow. And he did. I've had another experience with a cold culture individual where I had a relationship established very quickly, set up an account, told him some things he needed to do, how he needed to operate for the best for his business. And a week later, he calls me yelling that after not following any of my advice, I am now responsible for the fact that things didn't go well for him. And I had to literally get into almost a verbal fight with him, and he threatened to close his account, and I said, sure, come pick up your check. And his response to me was, but you're my guy. And from that moment on, we were great friends and good business partners. These things happen. Culture dynamics are part of the sales process. So when you do a needs analysis and recognize whether your prospect is a hot or cold culture, and you know whether you're a hot or cold culture, you're going to know how to respond. And the best way to respond is to honor their culture and act accordingly, because they're the ones saying yes to you. And it's really more important that they're right so they can say yes to you, and you can guide them to the solutions that they need, that you can provide, but it's only done when they trust you. And using the sales technique of matching and pacing your prospect in relation to the way they want to culturally connect is one of the fastest ways to move your sales cycles forward. And as always, if you ever have any questions around this, we love talking culture and helping you build dynamic sales teams so they can adapt and succeed. So reach out to us on our website or one of our social channels, and we'd love to have a conversation.